Great. So thank you again for having me. And as the just said, my name is Kevin. I'm coming to you from Nairobi, Kenya. I moved here about 5 months ago from New York City to work on a project that I submitted to Ideas for Action and now is turning into a real business as well as my full-time pursuits for the next year to year and a half. So during the next 10 minutes, I'd like to share with you how we can solve one of the world's biggest problems and make a profit in the process. And what we're talking about is fixing roads. And these are roads that are not the ones that you came into the office today, but the dirt roads that are prevalent across developing countries. So quick background about myself. I graduated Penn Wharton about 3.5 years ago. I started off my career in investment banking, and then I moved on to IBM as a designer and product manager. And my two other co-founders are from Denmark, and they lead field operations as well as software development. So I'd like to share with you a story from East Africa. This is in Uganda. This is a mother reaching a hospital. So this is a common picture across many locations. What you can see is deep depressions and potholes as well as blocked drainage. So for a mother, this means that she has a very difficult time getting to the hospital. The taxi drivers have to weave through narrow strips of road, and the likelihood of an accident increases. And well as the blocked drainage causes flooding when it rains, which leads to nearly impassable roads. And we spoke to some farmers, and they said that when it rains, the taxi fares increase from $1 to $4. So, and this problem is beyond just East Africa. This is a problem in South America as well as India and Southeast Asia. We're talking about 6.5 million kilometers of unpaved roads. And in terms of a dollar amount, this is about $3.7 trillion of spending in infrastructure, of which only 2.7 is funded. So there's a $1 trillion funding gap for road infrastructure. And within Africa itself, this is about 90 billion in terms of the needs, and of which half of it is being funded. So what we're doing at Mobilized Construction is a software platform that is enabling micro public-private partnerships to fill up this gap of lack of financing as well as expensive road maintenance. So it breaks down into three steps. The first is to collect the data on the road conditions. So what we do is we measure the International Roughness Index of a road based on a phone's accelerometer, as well as analyzing satellite imagery. And then that creates a map for where the repairs are needed. So then we can create micro contracts for the local people to fix the roads. And that's what we see in their second application. So they're able to document the work that they do on a daily basis. And once we are able to track and prove the work conditions and the road quality, they get paid through a mobile payment system like M-Pesa down here in Kenya. In terms of cost, so let me just jump back real quick. So, this creates jobs in local areas and then also creates data and transparency. So now the money and the funding that's going to road repairs can be tracked, and which is going back to a lot of the conversation that we've had previously on getting more financing available and accessible to developing countries. So roads that we do can be done, or roads that are done through our platform can be done as low as 700 US per kilometer, which is about 1/2 of the current heavy machinery labor-based costs from local governments here in Kenya, and about 1/10 of the cost that the World Bank uses. And the reason why costs are so low is because manual labor is much cheaper than heavy machinery in developing countries, as well as compared to the World Bank, we're using software instead of consultants and people. So going back to our picture and our story in Uganda, this is the team of 4 individuals that we hired to help us maintain this road. So instead of the deep crevices, they put on rocks as well as top layer of soil, and they cleared the drainage ditches. And then after the rainy season, the roads were actually quite good. So typically the road was completely flooded and impassable the year before, but now because of the road maintenance that we did, there was a couple small potholes that formed that we quickly filled up again. And in terms of impact, we saw a 50% decrease in travel time and in taxi fares. So what this means for a mom who's getting to the hospital urgently is it now takes 7 minutes instead of 15 minutes. And if we go to the vehicle activity and the impact of the local community, we saw about a 4 times impact in the local community. So the people from the area are more willing to use the road, which means travel time and as well as cost of transportation will be going down. In terms of the progress to date, we've done our first project in Uganda, and we are launching our next project in Kenya starting next month. And in terms of the next steps for us, Ideas for Action in Georgia have been very helpful in guiding us and advising us as we go about reaching out to the World Bank, the funder level type of people. And I'm actually moving to Washington, D.C. in February in conjunction with the House Young Incubator Fellowship to see how we can work together with the World Bank to bring back labor-based road maintenance. So just to wrap up, I know roads aren't the most sexy or the top of mind topic, but in terms of sustainable development goals, they actually address 8 of them. If we go to no poverty, this is creating jobs as well as helping the farmers with cheaper seed and fertilizer. And going back to the agricultural activity, there's less spoilage. We touched on 8 and 9, as well as roads are the foundations for planning and developing rural regions into new cities and communities. So with that, I'd like to thank you for your time and just take any questions. Thanks.
Kevin, thank you very much. Very clear. As I mentioned at the beginning of this session, I was saying that you are a good example, is that it's not that critical to be one of the 3 winners, but to be not only an entrepreneur of getting a good idea, but at the same time to be entrepreneur of making that happen. The implementation also require a particular kind of behavior, not just sitting in the office and thinking about projects and ideas and so on. If you can take your PowerPoint presentation off so that we can see the audience, and just to check if there is any question from the audience for you.
Okay.
I think they will be interested, I guess, to hear how come you from Philadelphia going through New York and then going to Kenya. I mean, what was the driver for a person of your age and that stage of career?
Yeah, so I think for me, I've always been interested in entrepreneurship. Can you see me, or is it still the screen?
Yeah, we can see you perfect.
Okay, great. So I think I've always been interested in entrepreneurship. My family has a restaurant, so that's been a big inspiration for me. And the reason why I switched, the transition from Philadelphia to New York to Kenya was really to build up my skills that I've accumulated both at school and at work, and to apply that and to build something, which just led me to Nairobi. So I'm sure it wasn't an overnight process where I decided to leave my job and to move to Kenya. What happened was last October, I started just doing planning, just thinking about a normal business plan. Who are your competitors? What actually needs to get done? Start to write things down, create presentations, and that took me all the way until June, which I finally decided to take that leap. And a lot of the skills such as design, such as strategy, finance, PowerPoint presentations, writing, the things that I've built up over the last few years, both at school and at work, really helped launch me into coming down here to Kenya to talk with local governments to plan new projects.
Thanks, Kevin. Any question from the audience?
I have one question.
Yeah, please, go ahead.
As an example of Africa, do you have any knowledge about very similar activity taking place in Southern America?
No, I'm not too familiar with the South America example.
Okay, so Africa for now is the only place that this kind of activity is developing, right?
Yes. So let me take it a step back. So labor-based maintenance has been around for the last 50 years, and the World Bank actually stopped funding and stopped piloting projects there 20 years ago. So there's been research and examples of labor-based maintenance across the world, especially in Africa and Southeast Asia, to my knowledge. What we're doing that's different is the technology that helps manage all of this and to reintroduce it back into common standards. So in terms of what's going on in Africa, the Japanese, through JICA, their development agency, has done a small pilot of labor-based maintenance, but it's more of a one-off project basis. So you do a project for 6 months and then you leave. But the problem with that, and especially with dirt roads, is once the consultants or the external people leave, the roads will go back to being bad, guaranteed, because it rains twice a year down here.
Okay, so it's basically for a short period of time, right? That kind of
yes.
development.
We're doing more of a consistent, continual maintenance of roads versus right now roads get done and then it's anywhere from 10 to 15 years before the dirt road is maintained again. And the reason why you can't maintain it again is because the population density is low. These are rural communities which typically have low income, so it's hard to justify paving that road until there's enough economic activity there.
Thank you for your answer.